we were 25 signing a 3-year lease for a $40,000 a year property when we only had enough clients to like barely cover, like that would not even cover it.
In this podcast, Evolution of a Human, it's supposed to be my job to inspire you to make the changes you know you want to make, and maybe even give you a few hints. But instead, I'm going to let my guests do that. Learn from their stories and the obstacles that they've overcome to be who they are today. We're rolling.
Oh, nice. So we've been getting some decent feedback on these podcasts actually, but the biggest feedback we have gotten is that these episodes should be longer. Because they're really short.
Yeah, we've kept them to 20 odd minutes.
Yeah,
now,
I mean...
It's good timing because we've hit Darwin now and we were there for a good 5 years, which is the longest stint that we've had
so far
in the story, right?
Yeah, all right. So we...
Recap Ireland?
Yeah, well, no, we went to Ireland. We did that whole Ireland thing. You can listen to those episodes. We don't have to recap. And I remember we stopped off in Dublin. We stopped off after Dublin. We stopped in Dubai to hang out with my dad for a couple of weeks. A couple of days.
Lick our wounds, you know.
Oh, I remember like how just shattered I was after being in Dublin and just like exhausted, and I think I just cried. And you know, we were supposed to be having a nice little holiday in Dubai, and I think we really didn't do anything.
I think it was sleep and eat.
Yeah.
And thaw out because
it was so cold.
Dublin is chilly.
But I mean, like, yeah, I think it was a testament, and sort of looking back now, I'm like, oh yeah, like that was like, you know, moving through some trauma, and like, you know, the nervous system just feeling like, and you know, a lot of the time when you have gone through something, when it finally, you know, the stress finally stops, like, you know, the body and the nervous system just breaks down. So I remember it was, I can barely remember that holiday when we stopped in Dubai. But yeah, we were there for a little bit, and then only for a couple of days, and then we flew to Darwin. And I remember again, we flew from Dubai to Singapore and we missed our connecting flight. We were supposed to get the connecting flight, but there was only like an hour and we missed it. So again, we had to wait like 24 hours because there's only one flight from Singapore to Darwin every day. And so we had to wait. And I remember again, we were like, oh, it's a whole day. We could go out, we could see Singapore. And I think we just got a airport hotel.
Yeah.
And slept and ate. And
I know that I haven't been into Singapore, but I don't even remember that.
Oh.
Like that's such a... I've wiped
really?
that whole
you don't remember that
trip home from my memory.
God, you don't remember any of it.
Don't remember any of it.
Again, like, you know, this speaks to the episode we did about Dublin. Oh my God, everything with a D. I'm getting all tongue-tied. But
Dublin, Darwin.
Darwin. But that time in Dublin, like, it just speaks to how much trauma that actually was. That we have such, like, skewed and wiped memories of trying to get home as well. But
shell-shocked would be the word.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I guess that's what they call it. I think PTSD is what they call it now.
Yeah.
That's what they used to call it, shell shock. But yeah, it was, I think looking back now, we can understand the trauma. We can understand what happened. And we can understand what it took to actually heal that. So yes, you and I have never actually been to... Yeah, you and I have never actually been to Singapore together.
No.
I have as a kid, but no, we've been through the airport several times.
Many times, but never left it.
But never actually left the airport. So anyway. So yes, then we got to Darwin. And the reason we ended up in Darwin is because my mum was there. And she had moved from Adelaide to Darwin when we moved to Dublin. And yeah, when we moved to Dublin.
Yeah, when we moved to Dublin, she got a job offer and moved up to Darwin from Adelaide.
Yeah, because she'd always wanted to live there.
And again, this was another place that we were moving to that we had never been.
Oh yeah, sight unseen. What?
This is definitely a pattern that we have. Like, we will throw everything we have at somewhere new without ever visiting.
Actually have been there before. Yep. You're right. We'd never been to Darwin. But Mum moved there because it reminded her of Sri Lanka. And, I mean, I was born in Sri Lanka. So, I mean, not that I have
not that you've spent heaps of time
recollection of what Sri Lanka was like. And it wasn't like I was like, yay, we're moving to Sri Lanka. The only reason we moved there was because we had a job offer. We had my mum's chiropractor had said, well, if they want to come work for me.
Did you met the chiropractor's wife when you were visiting it, when we had gone to Melbourne for my brother's wedding? Oh. You met his wife and she said to him that you'd be a fantastic chiropractor for his practice.
Hire her. Yes,
so
I remember.
In the time that we were in Dublin, like occasionally your mum would pipe in with a, my chiropractor would like you to work for him. So there was always that...
Oh, I remember that now.
There was always that hanging carrot, the job offer in Darwin.
Yes, because I'd never met him.
No.
But I met his wife and she was like in his ear constantly being like, you're
getting too old for this.
You need to step out. So you need to step out. And you know what? She'd be really great. So that's what... Mum was like, well, come.
Why we went.
And of course, being an only child, my mum had moved my entire bedroom and all of my stuff up to Darwin. So we had a room, living with my mum, we had job offers, and it sounded really good. So hence why we landed in Darwin. And it was just meant to be a year, maybe 2, just to sort of, again, heal, regroup, get ourselves together, and take this job and just have an easy, comfortable job to just recover, right? And I remember now looking back after we'd been in Darwin, we lived there for a while. Looking back, I can understand how this happened. So we met the guy who's offered us a job and he was talking to us and, it was all like, yeah, this sounds good. And then the offer came of like, okay, this is what I'm offering you as a salary and a bonus and all of those sorts of things. And we were like, is that it?
But it sounded exactly like what we had just been through in Ireland.
Yeah, there was a lot of, I will mentor you.
So many red flags that we had just discovered the hard way.
I will pay you next to nothing because the value you are getting is my knowledge and my good name. And I've been doing this for years. And really, in truth, you would be lucky to be with me because I am so excellent. Yeah. There was a lot of that vibe.
I'm the chiropractic demigod.
Yeah, there was a lot of that vibe,
Yeah. So I think we gently turned that down.
I don't know if it was so gentle. But we
definitely
were like,
did not take that
well,
offer
actually,
up.
okay, no, that's not true. What happened is we were like, okay, like cool, but all the other chiropractors in town had gotten wind of us being there, right?
Yeah.
And 2 chiropractors, a wife and a husband, that is a really attractive offer because that is like...
It's a ready built practice right there.
Exactly. Like anyone who wanted to move out or just, or even take some time off, like you've got a male and a female, 2 very different personalities. Like it's pretty damn good, right? And now that I have, we've owned chiropractic practices and we run them and things, like we know how rare that is and how good it is. And it's funny because looking back, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like they should have offered us a lot more than they were.
Oh, they should have. Which is why we didn't take them up on it.
No, because we met with several of them, right? And they all were like, hey, it's so nice. And they took us out for lunch. And then when the offers came, it was quite low pay. Mm-hmm. And a lot of like, yes, you're getting low pay because I will mentor you. Because I am the one to teach you. And like, look, I get it. When you come out of uni, like you are in an apprenticeship, right? Mm. And, you do need a little bit of coaching and mentoring, but you also need to be paid like a living wage.
And Darwin, for those who don't know, is a very high cost of living.
Very high cost of
even back
living.
in 2010 when we arrived, rent prices were extreme, and so like buying a house was
It's
off the
impossible.
table.
Yeah.
Even food and eating out was
Yep.
very expensive, even compared to
Supermarkets.
and compared to Melbourne and
everything.
Sydney, it was at the same price,
And
if not more.
it was because at the time it was a fly in, fly out, and there was a lot of like oil and gas. So the people who did live there, a lot of them were oil and gas.
Yeah, they made good money.
They made incredible money.
And
and military.
All of the supplies that came in, all of the food, had to be sent there. Like Darwin is
Darwin doesn't
amazing
grow
for
anything.
growing avocados and mangoes.
Oh, I don't even think avocados really. It's too humid for avocados.
But either way,
tropical fruit.
everything else needs to be sent in.
Oh, 100%. Like you can get Asian vegetables and that's about it. And, Asian vegetables and tropical fruit. That's it. Like it's really very, like nothing is produced there. So yeah, it was a high cost of living. So like for us, it was like, yes, but and they would do things like, yeah, but you're living with your mum, so you don't have any cost of living. So we can afford to pay you less, right? And you don't really have that much experience, but so we can afford to pay you less. So it was so interesting now when I look back, right? And when I look back, because we eventually did have our own practice, I look back and I think about what I would have offered people to move up there, right? And be there. And what we were being offered was absolute bullshit. So, But I have to say, look, after meeting with several chiropractors in town and hearing all of their offers and hearing that all of them were absolute bullshit, and you and I sitting down and going, you know what, we went through some shit. Like, we went through it. Like, we had two bosses who were awful. We learned a shit ton about marketing and how to like build a practice. Not one of those people had a website even back then. No. And we're like, you know what? Fuck it. We can do it better ourselves.
We can do better.
Because they did point out some very interesting facts to us. The fact that we lived with my mum, we had the support system. We didn't have to pay rent. Like we could, she took, she was like, yeah, it's cool. Like I'll do the shopping and all that sort of stuff, and she paid the bills. So pretty much we went back to a support system. We had that there, right?
Yep.
And so they pointed that out to us, and we're like, well, we have absolutely nothing to lose, do we? We had no money at this time, like literally nothing.
So that's the decision we made.
We made.
None of these offers are good.
Thanks, but no
thanks. We can
thanks.
definitely do better by ourselves, but.
And you've pointed out to us that hey, we've got nothing to lose. Like we've got a support system. We actually think we can do better than you. We've brought this all up, so we went, you know what? Fuck it, let's do it. So we called our finance guy.
I think we...
Did we do that next?
That was not yet.
Oh, what was that?
Because we got jobs.
No. We called the finance guy first because we were like, right, okay, if we're going to start a practice, we need cash, right? So we need a table, we need money for a premises, we need, and we had all the list together. We need to buy ourselves, a new computer, like, because we only had my laptop from from uni, which was chunky.
Kind of did the job, but it was just getting by.
Yeah, we were just like, oh my God, and we need like a thing to take cash payments. Anyway, we had all the list, right? And we were like, okay, this is, all right. So we called the guy because, being doctors, we were able to get special finance.
Yeah.
So we called the guy and he's like, yeah, actually, I'm up in Darwin now. Luck has it that I'm here in Darwin now. So we met him at Mum's place, right? We're sitting there and he's like looking at us and, we're talking about what we want to do and, what we want to build. And he's looking at us and he's like, yeah, that's great. He's like, amazing. Yeah, I can't give you any money.
Can't give you any of that.
No, you can't have any money.
You don't have a business,
You've got nothing.
We can't finance that.
We can't finance that. He's like, I get it. I see your passion. I see your dream, but I can't give you any money.
Yeah.
And we're like, then how the fuck are we going to start a practice?
Yeah.
So...
That's when we got jobs. That was me working night fill at Woolworths.
And I worked at a health food shop in the local...
In the big shopping centre.
Yeah.
We did that for a little while.
We did that for
not a long
while.
time, but a little while. And because we had that support with your mum, we were able to put some of that money aside and buy a beat-up old Volvo. One of those big
That was
boxy
his name.
sedans,
Yep.
big
So
green thing.
So that we could get it. We had a car so that we could actually get
to and from the things we needed to.
the city and to and from work, because we were using Mum's car for a bit, but obviously she had to go to work and she had stuff. So we're like, right, okay, well we need to
And Darwin is very spread out, so car is essential.
Yeah, and public transport is an absolute joke. And there was no Uber back then.
No.
And taxis were ridiculous. So it was like, no, we have to get a car. So we got the car. So yes, we got these jobs. Okay.
So we had independence as far as
So
transport. We had a little bit of money coming in, and we also had your portable treatment table from university.
Yes!
The purple treatment table
Yes!
that had, I think that came with us to Dublin as well.
Yep, my dad bought that for me as a present when I started chiropractic school. I was like, oh my God, I need a table to like practice and stuff. And he's like, cool, here's your...
Here it is.
Here it is. So we had that portable table. So we're like, right.
Computer,
my
portable table.
My old laptop, the portable table.
We had an activator,
Yes.
which is a tool that, chiropractors
We had the adjusting tool. We had to buy that though. Did we
We
buy that? We bought that.
did at some point. I don't know if that was in...
I don't think we...
I think we had that in Dublin though, because that was ours. I might have bought that when I was living in Ballarat while you were finishing uni.
Yes, I think so. I think you
Anyway,
had that. I think it was just an activator
We
too.
had
we had that.
bare essentials as
we
far as
did.
equipment is concerned. And we went and checked out big fancy office.
Which
but
big fancy office?
Paspala Centrepoint.
That was not the big fancy
It was the
office.
big fancy office that we went and checked out because they had serviced offices in there.
Yeah, no. So, I remember this now. Okay, so yes, so we had these part-time jobs, right? And yes, we had that money coming in. So you were at Nightfield, I was doing
Retail in
the
the health food
retail
store.
health food shop, right? So we were getting that cash in. So we had enough money, and we're like, okay, here's our budget. This is what we can afford. So Paspala Centrepoint was like a bunch of offices, right?
Serviced offices?
No. Yes, serviced offices, but they also had like standalone offices. And we went and had a look at one of their standalone offices because we were like, okay, we need 2 rooms to be working at the same time, right?
Yep.
And we need a reception space to have a receptionist and people to be waiting, right? And they showed us this office and we were like, yeah, this is great, fantastic, right? And they're like, okay, this is the price. And we're like, ooh, that is like triple our budget. We cannot afford this. And so the guy's like, all right.
We also hadn't realised how expensive rent was in Darwin at that point because we didn't need to look at it because we were living with your mum.
Yeah, it was insane. Commercial rent was insane. So like, yes, this guy said to us, like, it's
whatever it was.
And we're like, Jesus Christ, we can't afford that. And he's like, you know what? We actually have serviced offices here. So you can just take one office.
One room.
And, then you can use the services of the receptionist in the building and stuff. And we're like, all right, that could work.
Could be it.
So we did. So we, the budget for that, he's like, yeah, this is it. And we're like, that is the top end of our budget. But you know what? Fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, it was a tiny room.
It was tiny.
Across the hall from the owner of the building.
Yeah.
Who had a bit of a temper. And
he
was okay. There were some occasions where it was loud. But that was Central Darwin.
It was Central Darwin.
It was really good because there were all these other people working in these offices, like conveyancers, and there was a guy who came across from Broome every 2 weeks and had his meetings and.
Oh, you mean in the central, in the
serviced office.
Serviced offices, yeah. Because it was
so many good people there.
Because at the time it was very, very new, so they were the facilities were gorgeous. It looked beautiful, but there was barely anyone in there. So like he gave us a bit of a deal because he's like, all right, we need to fill
this
these
place
because half of them are empty. So we're like, cool. And at the time we had really done our market research. We'd done our research because all the chiropractors were out. They were all in the suburbs. There were none in the city centre.
There was one. And he was like one of the oldest practices.
Yes, of course.
But his technique was very specific.
Yes.
And people either loved it or didn't. So it left a lot of the market open.
That's true. And he also was one that had offered us jobs because he was sick. Like he wasn't very well. He wasn't a very well man. And and other people had told us, look, go talk to him because he's about to retire and he will pretty much give you the practice because he needs succession planning. Like, he doesn't have anyone. And he gave us the bloody worst deal of them all. I was like, I thought you were meant to be like sick and retiring. And I mean, to this day, I think he's still working. So, I mean.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think he actually wanted to.
No. I think I think to this day, like, what is it now? How many years on is it?
Yeah.
14 years later, I think he's still working. So I don't think that was, I think we sensed that and we're like, yeah, no, that's not a plan. Anyway, so back to our Paspala Centre Point. Stunning.
Darren's the guy who took care of us, and he was an absolutely amazing guy.
And other than my mother, he was our first client, actually our first patient.
Yeah.
And I remember we were talking about, all right, okay, so we needed a name, right? So we did our market research. We knew exactly what we were doing, putting the practice in the city, right? And then we're like, okay, the next thing we need is a website and Google, because not one of them had a website. Not one of them had Google presence. You put, chiropractor Darwin into Google, and it's
blank.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You were like, what?
You'd be having to fly to Adelaide or Sydney for it.
Yes, there was nothing. So we were like, right, well, there's a gap there. Easy. Okay, so we thought, okay, so we've got this office now. We need a name. And I remember sitting at Mum's dining room table, and, you were in the kitchen making tea or something, and Mum was sitting there and we're having, I don't know, snacks or something. And I was like, and I was just riffing off and just like visioning what our lives would look like, what things would be. And I was like, we would have things like, and I was just saying things like, we'd have like, the podiatry place and the x-ray place and the chiropractic place. And you stop dead in your tracks and you're like, what? What was that? What did you say? And I said,
stop, that's it. The chiropractic place.
And that was our name.
Again, we were like 24, 25 or something. And at this point, we had the vision of the alternative medical empire. Like, it was going to be chiropractors and physiotherapists and radiography and imaging and all of these things all over Australia.
Exactly. And the chiropractic place was going to be where we started it. And we were going to have this, and like, because the theme of it, the chiropractic place, is like a perfect name, right? And it could be anywhere. And it sounded big, and it sounded like we were part of like some empire. Like, it was the beginning. And I loved that name, the chiropractic place. We actually
did so damn well with that, by the way. Like,
yeah, we'll get to that. Just I'm building. Let me tell the story. So we've got this name now, right? And we're like, okay, great. And then back in the day, it was Vistaprint, wasn't it?
Yep.
And so we were like, and Vistaprint would allow you to get like 100, like a free logo and 100 free business cards.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, just pay shipping. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So we got onto Vistaprint and we were like, right. And we like designed this free logo and this like, free little business card. And I remember being like, okay, picking the colors. For some reason, we picked like purple and yellow.
Yep.
I actually dislike the color purple so much, but it is actually permeated through a lot of our lives. Like, we had purple in our wedding colors.
Because you actually loved it then.
I know. And then even my 21st album is purple. And then like our first chiropractic practice was purple and yellow, like purple and gold. Like, what the fuck was I thinking? I think it was like abundance or something, but it's not my color. I didn't even look good in purple. But anyway, purple, it was purple and gold. And we designed these, this is back before Canva too. Mm-hmm. So I think we used bloody Word and designed these like flyers with that free logo.
Oh, we did.
And I can vividly remember going, okay, after we paid all of our stuff and things, we gathered all of our change together and we went to Officeworks and we're like, okay, we need to print out this many flyers, this many
flyers based on
this much money. And like, we'll get some purple ones and some yellow ones. And, we had this office, it was all set up and we were like, all right, now we're going to get the clients. So we got these flyers and we walked the streets of Darwin, like in the heat, in the humidity, going into every single shop, every single building, all of the pharmacies and the Baker's Delight and Coles, and we were just in every single shop being like, hey, we're Leandra and Jacob, we've just moved to town, we're the new chiropractors, can we leave some flyers here? And we had our diary with us as well.
We could take bookings
And we
on the
took
spot.
bookings on the spot.
First booking was... So traditionally, chiropractic and the medical model don't get along. But our first booking doing that was a pharmacist.
Was a pharmacist, and she was great.
She was amazing.
She was a great patient. She was a really good advocate. She brought her mum in, her sisters in, her aunties, her uncles. She was part of I think she was part of a big Greek family that lived in Darwin, and they told everyone. And she was one of our biggest advocates, and she was one of the first ones that we took. And she had the flyers on the counter, booked herself in, and that's how we got our first patients.
Yeah, pounding the pavement actually
Literally.
worked.
Like, and it was, because we were like, well, what's the point sitting around in our office? Yeah. And again, like, I mean, I never really talked, and then obviously I worked at a health food shop. And so I, would talk a little bit about it there. And we built that business on actual sweat, like just sweat, because it was so hot as well. And we were just, and again, like, this is also like before Facebook was big, before social media was
not
big.
Huge.
Yeah, so we got onto Facebook early on.
We used that really well to begin with.
So well to begin with.
Because at that point when we were still in Paspala Centre Point, so we took flyers out, we spoke to the local businesses, like face to face.
Put posters in people's windows.
We put posters everywhere. Yeah. We went to networking events.
Yes, and it was really hard.
We found a couple of them.
And again...
Actually, Darwin's got a really good business networking community because they've got October Business Month, or they did then. I'm not sure if it still goes.
They still do.
But it is definitely an environment that tries to nurture businesses.
Yeah.
So there are constantly places that you can go and meet other business owners.
Yeah. It was like, when we really, again...
We hit that hard.
Yes, but... You're getting ahead of yourself now because
that was part of us when we were in Paspalas.
Not yet. Because then what we did was after we started getting these clients and stuff, then we got a free one-page website.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, and it was not good, but who cared?
But who cared? It was a chiropractic website.
It was a chiropractic website in Darwin, and then so that started,
which was chiropracticdarwin.com.au.
Chiropracticdarwin.com.au. Yeah, we owned that because we could, and yeah. And we just hit that really hard. And yes, Darwin does have an excellent market. I can't exactly remember how we found out about it, but we were doing so much back in the day of like actually talking to people. So like, now you talk about metrics on like social media and Google and things, but back then it was just like, who do you know?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of us just wandering around talking to people. And I think we just talked to the right person who said, you know what you should do? You should go.
Yeah, it was part of like
you should go to this.
Business
you should talk
Association
to this guy.
or something ran a 1 day.
Oh my God, yes, I remember that. No, it was like 5 days.
Basic bookkeeping and basic business principles.
Oh my God,
and then I think she was the one. She's like, do not ever discount, because if you cut your price by this, then you actually need to sell 4 times as much to make the same profit. So your business will fail.
All right, okay, let's get back to that.
But then she said, now on the back of this, there is a digital marketing thing. And this guy is coming from Adelaide. He'll be running it over 1 or 2 days.
Oh, yeah.
But over a couple of weeks, like he did it like 1 day and then he'd come back the following week or 2 weeks later. And at the end of it, you can have a website built by him, just a 1-page thing.
I remember this. Okay.
It was a big thing.
Yeah, okay. You, again, have started the story in the middle there. Let's go back a minute. But yes, I can't remember where we found it, but it might have been in one of the free magazines. You're right. We found out about the Small Business Centre. Now, these small business centres are all around Australia, and most cities have them. But because Darwin's so small, like... it was quite a big thing, So we went and you're right, we signed up for a free 5-day seminar because at this time, again, we're working our part-time jobs. We are sitting in our Paspala Centre Point with only a few patients now and then, right? So we would block
definitely in building phase.
And we would block book them so that all of them showed up at the same time.
So it makes it seem busier.
So we weren't. So it's like okay, well, we don't really have. We've got a lot of spare time.
But also like us trading the room.
Yeah,
Like,
I remember
and
that
kind of
too.
having to hide around the corner so that
Like if you're with
it's
the
not like
patient.
I'm not sitting in the reception area with my client, both waiting for the room to be free
Exactly,
because
like
you were with the
we were
client.
like, and we were each like, like playing musical offices and chairs, and like, oh, I'll go down here so no one sees me, and you in there, and then I'll go over here, and then you do this person, and then that person's there, and yep, just to make us seem as professional as we possibly could, just carefully maneuvering the room and swapping patients. I remember that too. But anyway, point is, we had all this time, and we saw this ad saying, hey, free 5-day business seminar, and we're like,
Oh,
all
yeah?
right. Oh, no, we really don't know much about business. Like
And we've got a bit of time.
Yeah, chiropractic school pretty much said, here's realestate.com and
And
an IKEA
IKEA.
catalog. Like,
That's enough for a practice.
That's enough for your business plan.
Probably think about insurance as well.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
You'll be right. Yeah. And that was an awful assignment and stupid, and we all just made it up. So none of us had any idea when we got out of university how to actually run a business. Bookkeeping, what's bookkeeping? Insurances, yeah, you should probably get someone to do that. But yeah, it was a real baptism by fire with business. So we had this business course and we went, and you're right, it was 5 days. And each day was like sort of covering something else. So you're right, she did this bookkeeping one, and that was the first place we learned. Never ever discount your services, and she showed when you discount what it does, right? And so from that day on, I have actually never discounted my work because I don't believe in it. And she's like, you set your price for why you set your price. You have things to cover. Like you've got she's like, you've got your insurances to cover. You've got your marketing to cover, your groceries, your rent. She's like, that should, your price should be 50%, should cover all of that stuff. And then you have that 50% you put away in your profits. She's like, you don't discount, because if you are discounting, you are cutting, like you will run at a loss. And that was, and seriously, for a free business seminar, that was some of the best advice we've ever gotten.
Yeah, it was.
And
she was really, really good.
She was incredible. And so that's where we learned basic bookkeeping. That's where we learned all the basics of like what the insurances you need, all the stuff that you never ever got taught at chiropractic school. So if a chiropractor is listening to this, you really need more than chiropractic school gives you in business. And if any business owner is listening to this, definitely if you're in Australia, go find that free business centre. I'm not even sure. I'm sure they still exist.
Yeah.
But that was incredible. And it was just, again, such a gift to be able to have that. And then you're right. Then she was like, yep, there's this dude coming. He comes up from Adelaide. And I remember, like, we got along so well with him, and we met him for lunches, and we chatted.
Yeah, whenever he was in town.
And we learnt the basics of, like, what Facebook wants, what it needs.
What it could be for a business.
Be. And, like, yeah, we had an amazing Facebook presence in Darwin. It was like, and we used to do, like, every day was a theme. It's like, and, yeah, I got really into it. And I used to, down the track, like, we'll get to that actually. But yeah, we started there. We started with, okay, let's have a Facebook presence. Yes, let's have a website. And so the practice started to grow.
It did. And as we started getting a little bit more solid with the practice, we were able to walk into our works. I remember walking into Woolworths with my letter
Of resignation.
in an envelope. And I walked in the door, and Imon, his face just dropped. He's like,
oh yeah, because we were good workers.
yeah, because we actually showed up. And
we gave a shit.
Gave a crap.
Even though the shitty jobs, like...
He knew that I was building a practice, and he was like, oh, I thought I had longer.
Yeah.
But nope, he knew exactly what it was when I walked through that door.
Yeah.
But yeah, we both had some good teams that we worked with.
It was great. And it was 6 months. It was only 6 months we had those part-time jobs, and it kind of this is actually something really interesting. I coach people now, and a lot of them are like, I don't want to leave my 9-to-5 job to start my next thing until that thing is making enough money to support me, right? And
incredibly valid.
Yes, I get it. We all have like stuff that we need to, money makes the world go round and whatnot. But the thing is, we quit those jobs before we were actually ready to quit them. And that's why your boss said I thought I had longer, because the practice was taking off. It wasn't replacing our crappy part-time jobs yet, but it came to a point where where it was very obvious to us that if we didn't get rid of something, we wouldn't be able to push into that next level.
Yeah.
Because we were putting too much energy into having to, even if it was only 20 hours a week or whatever, that 20 hours a week we realized could be better spent pumping into the business.
Yeah. It could have been networking. It could have been sleeping so that you were actually able to show up better at work the next day.
It could be, like taking care of ourselves, like eating better, meal prepping, exercising, whatever. That 20 hours could be better spent. Like the cash, the money, like wasn't enough of a trade-off.
Yeah.
So we quit before we were ready for that.
Yeah. And we were still living with your mum.
We were still living with my mum.
And on top of that, we also, again, not before we should have, like it was the right move. We put a lot of the money that we were making in the practice into our marketing.
Yes.
We took out
huge amounts.
We took out a advertorial kind of thing in the magazine.
Oh yeah.
We really focused on positioning ourselves the right way to try and make us the go-to chiropractors in town.
Yes, and I remember, okay, so at the time, there were two big magazines in Darwin. There was a free one and there was a paid one, right? And the one that you would buy. And in that one, like both of them you had to pay to be in, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the free one had free articles, right? And they had people who would just write for them for free. And I got in contact with the owner of that very early on and was like, hey, let me write for you. And she's like, you've never written anything. Like, where's your writing? Who are you, right? And she was a bit like, all right, you need to prove to me. Like, prove to me who you are. So we did. We spent a little bit of money advertising in there. And like, I just was constantly onto her. Like, let me write, let me write, let me write. Right? And she was constantly like, well, show me more. Like, not yet, not yet. So we were determined to get in the magazine, right? Into one magazine. Yep. So we paid an exorbitant amount of money, pretty much everything we'd made from these part-time jobs, to get in this...
To the paid
magazine. The very high-end paid magazine. So it was an advertorial. They came, they took the photos. I somehow wrangled it. God, I'm just looking back. I was such a wheeler and dealer back then. Like the confidence of youth. But like I somehow wrangled it that I got my makeup and my hair and my outfit all donated for free for credit in the magazine. So they're like, hair by whatever, such and so, and outfit by so and so, and makeup by so and jewelry by so and so. And these were all like partners in the magazine. So like we were just like, again, wheeling, dealing, a lot of contra, a lot of you do this, you scratch this. So we paid the minimum we possibly could, which was already hugely over our budget to get in this magazine. And we knew it was not going to yield clients. We knew it was not going to come back.
No.
And this was just brand recognition.
But it worked because this magazine comes out, was it 4 times a year?
It was quarterly.
Once every 6 months. It was.
No, I'm pretty sure it was seasonal.
Out there for a long time.
Oh, you're right. Could be wet season, dry season.
And it's in all the hotels.
Everywhere.
It's a paid magazine, but it's in all the hotels. It's in all the cafes and restaurants. So if you're in this magazine, people are going to flick through and they will see you.
Exactly. So it was just positioning. Oh my God, we made all the other chiropractors so fucking mad. They were so angry at us because they'd offered us jobs, right? They said, come work for me. And we were like, no thanks. We're just going to come and like absolutely...
We're going to disrupt a few things.
Disrupt the entire chiropractic industry in Darwin. The whole health and wellness industry in Darwin. And the funny thing is, right, we actually, at the time, we hit upon a zeitgeist. Is that what it's called? A zeitgeist? Zeitgeist? Zeitgeist.
Zeitgeist. That's the word.
That's the word. No, we did. We'd hit upon a zeitgeist because it was at a time in Darwin, right, where the gym, like the big gyms were starting up. You know, the paleo cafes were starting up. Like we were in with that. So
yeah, we were part of that wave.
We were part of that wave, and there was this health and wellness wave that, I mean, it was sweeping the whole country, but really
Definitely.
we were in Darwin at that time. And like we were riding that wave, and we got into that magazine at the right time. We positioned ourselves as the health and wellness experts, and we were the chiropractors to go to in Darwin. So everybody kind of hated us.
They did. We had upset the status quo.
We did. Well, we were disruptors. Like we were health disruptors, you know, and it was kind of cool to like look back and kind of be like, yeah. And yeah, we were doing things that like normal businesses would do, but the chiropractors would never do, right? Like, oh my God, we would never take photos of ourselves and put them on the internet.
Whew.
Oh God, no.
Heaven
like,
forbid.
We would never write about what we do to try and like educate people. And I remember the guy who did our one-page website and told us about, you know, from that business thing, he's like, you should start a blog. And I was like, yes, I should start a blog. So, and that's what I did. I started this blog, and I would send the blog. Every time I wrote one, I'd send it to the
other magazine.
The other magazine, saying, "Hey, here's my writing.
It should be in your magazine."
It should be in your magazine. And so eventually, oh my God, months and months of me pestering this woman, and finally she said, "Okay, I'll let you write."
By which point we had moved to our other office.
So yes, all right. So let's get back to that. Okay, so yes,
back on track, back where we were. We were in there, I think it was about 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, I think 6 months. Okay, so we were 6 months in our jobs.
Maybe it was probably 6 months. We would have signed a 6-month agreement.
Yeah, I think we signed a 6-month agreement.
Yeah.
So we were only paying month by month though. So we got to, again, same thing. We quit the jobs before we were ready, right? And put everything into this tiny one-room service office practice, right? And oh my God, no. And then the second thing, and then we got a little bit of money, right? And actually then we went to our business guy again, our loan guy again, and said, okay, we got a little bit of money. And he's like, okay, great. Now that you've got some money coming in, you can get these lines of credit.
All right. So you don't get a business
loan.
I still can't do that.
Can't still do that because
not been running long enough. But
he's like,
you actually do have an income now. You can show that you have an income, which automatically means that you are eligible for this line of credit.
This kind of line of credit, which is pretty much like a credit card. And so we bought a table. We
Like
bought
a proper
chiropractic table. And we loved it. And she was beautiful, and she had drop pieces. And I just felt so incredibly like, we've made it. Here's my chiropractic table. And we bought a proper laptop.
Yep. They were the big splash out purchases.
Yes, we still were taking cash payments because this is also before the time of the Square payments and stuff.
The Stripe payments and all that sort of thing.
You couldn't do that. They were available in America, and we were looking into them, and we're just like, why can't we get these things?
Why can't we do that?
Because again, we were ahead of our time, right? Because this is, again, back in the day when they were listening to the radio in the practice. They had... they had like, what's those the landline phones, they had fax machines, they had...
we actually faxed a few things.
We faxed things back in the day.
And gave out a fax number.
We are that old. We had a fax number. Because you know why? All of the radiography clinics and stuff, faxes. They wouldn't email stuff to you. They do email now, but it's only been a few years. For years, they only faxed them. Anyway, because of confidentiality. So we had fax numbers. Again, this is, and we were looking at things like Spotify and streaming services and like, wireless payment cards and stuff. And like, this was all ahead of the time. Like we couldn't get it. We just couldn't.
No.
And everyone was doing like the healthcare cards. Oh, you can't have a practice without healthcare.
With that high caps.
With that high caps and stuff. And I was like, I'm not giving them my bloody money. So no, we didn't have any of that.
Didn't have any of that. But we did get to a point where we were busy enough that we're like, all right, we actually need an office each.
Yeah.
All of this toing and froing, me waiting for you to be finished with the room, you waiting for me to be finished with the room. It was just stifling our growth too much.
Yeah, and by that stage, the serviced offices had taken off a bit.
Yep.
And there was a
It was
room
much
free.
busier
It was
there.
much busier, but there was a room free next to ours. But he was like, I can't give you a deal now because
Yeah.
like everyone wants these offices.
Yeah.
So we're like, actually, no, there wasn't one free. We would have to have moved our office as well because we needed two next to each other, or we'd have to. It was too much. Like, we were just like, no, we can't. It just wasn't working. So we started looking for a proper office, like a standalone office. And
we came across one. I don't think we looked at many.
I don't think we looked at many at all. I think we just looked
think it was
at one,
the first
really.
one.
And it was incredible.
110, 120 square meters. It had
Three
offices, big
boardroom.
reception area, and the boardroom.
Toilet, little kitchenette, and it had these incredibly high ceilings, like massive. I'm talking giant.
Like warehouse style, like an
Huge.
exposed, like piping at the roof. Like it was very cool.
It was very cool. It was very Melbourne and something that we hadn't really seen in Darwin before. And these doors, they had these like shiny gold doors, almost glittery, and they went
must have
all the
been
way to the ceiling.
4 or 5 meters tall, these doors.
Easily. They were
incredible.
Giant, incredible, right? And yeah, it was not a cheap office. It was 40 grand a year before you even turned the lights on.
When we started, it was 40. It went up year by year.
Insane. And we were just like, how are we going to make that work? How?
Doesn't matter. It's the next jump. So off we went.
And yeah, we signed that lease with no fucking clue of how we were going to be able to pay that.
No.
But again, we had to just jump before we were ready. Because again, like this is, I think, one of the hugest things that I tell people, even when I coach them now in intuition, and not that I'm a coach, I'm a medical intuitive, I'm a practitioner, still not a coach. But when I work with people, what I tell them is that we need to move first, right? Like the universe, God, whatever, the unified field, whatever is happening, it doesn't move first. You have to move first. You move first, you jump, and it will be there. But you have to have the faith to do it first. And this was one of our key secrets to our success, especially in Darwin. In Darwin the most, because that's where I think we were the most successful, really, by the metrics.
Yeah, we moved through the fear because we didn't have any fear because we were
What
young.
fear?
We had nothing to lose anyway.
I do not remember being terrified at all. I just remember thinking, like, fuck it, what else are we going to do?
Why not?
Yeah. Again, I think it was because we were doing this before our frontal cortexes were developed fully.
Yeah. Well, right around that point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because we've been like 25. My God, we were 20. Oh my God. I think
Still
back
babies.
and I'm like, we were 25 signing a 3-year lease for a $40,000 a year property.
Yep.
When we only had enough clients to like barely cover, like that would not even cover it.
Luckily, the landlord did not need the money from that one property, and he was very, very understanding. He probably saw something in us that we knew could be there.
Yeah.
Like,
And again, I think you know, again,
he's seen a lot.
I think that place had been empty for a while, and I think like
Perfect
he was
place.
just it was
Perfect.
we've
Like
been
the right time.
We've been lucky in a lot of our dealings with people that a lot of people have seen in us our potential and invested in our potential. Not in money. No one has ever invested money in our potential.
If anyone would like to.
If anyone would like to, please just
By all
contact
means.
me because, look, venture capitalists come at me. But, like, a lot of people have seen in us the potential of what we can do and said, you know what, I'm going to give you a chance. And this guy was one of those. He was incredible, and he just said, you know what? He listened to our story, he listened to who we were, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to give you a chance.
Yeah.
I think he gave us a couple of months free rent as well, just
He
at
did.
the beginning.
Yeah, to let us get settled in.
Just to get us settled.
Which, getting settled in, by the way, I remember borrowing a little dolly trolley thing and walking our table, our pride and joy, because it was the only thing we had to move. We weren't getting a removal company.
No, it was just the table.
So I remember walking it up the streets of Darwin.
Yep.
And those gutters are very deep because when it rains, it
rains.
pours.
Yeah.
it made things pretty interesting. It must have been a hell of a
It was
thing to
less than,
see.
exactly. We were just like, bugger it, it's less than it. But this is, again, a perfect story and a perfect example of our no fear, we'll just get it done attitude.
Yeah.
And we're like, fuck it, it's like a kilometre. Like, yes, we've got to get it down. Like
Past the supermarkets,
there was
past
like,
all
and
this.
there was like, it was like we were on the first floor, so we had to go down the ramp to get
We
it
did.
down.
It wouldn't fit in the elevator.
No, because it wouldn't fit in the elevator because it was too big. And I didn't even, yeah, because that's how they got it up there. But we got this dolly, and yeah, you're right. We just pushed it. We pushed it for a kilometre and a half, like through the streets to our new office. Good thing that new office, that office
Also had a ramp.
And the doors were big
Actually,
enough.
no, I don't think the ramp worked because the corner was too tight. So there were wheels on one end of the table.
Oh yeah, we just got it in. It was seriously, I don't know how. And again, 90% humidity.
Yep.
It was a Sunday, so
It was
slightly quieter, but
quieter
Jesus
day.
Christ, yeah, we did that. Anyway, so we got the table in there, and you're right, it was nothing. Oh, again, and then we had to get furniture, and we had no furniture places in Darwin.
Or the ones we did were very expensive.
It was incredibly expensive, and like everything was just awful. Like it was just awful. It's a very 80s chip, but nothing nice, right? And we were like kids at the time. We're like, oh my god, IKEA is so nice. So I remember we flew down to Melbourne, and we went through IKEA, and we picked all the things we wanted, and we were just like, right, send it up to Darwin, and we just got it all sent to Darwin.
Picked it all, and then we ordered it over the phone from Adelaide to Darwin because the shipping was cheaper.
Oh yes, and you couldn't do it back in the day. You couldn't do it on the internet. No, you couldn't do it. Just buy something on the internet and get it delivered to you.
So all this stuff shows up. We had the flat pack man come in.
Oh yeah, we had to pay someone.
And he just came in with his drill and put everything together in a couple of hours.
Yep. And I remember, like, again, we'd taken this lease, we'd bought all this furniture, we were like, right, we've got to make a real go of this. And so that's when we joined.
Yeah, we had positioned ourselves well.
Oh yeah, and so people were starting to know who we were. And again, we were having,
And-
we went to, oh my God, I remember we were a bit bored and we were just like, maybe we could buy a house here, maybe we could settle here. So we went and had a look to see what it would be like to buy a house. And we were like, holy fuck, this is fucking ridiculously expensive. Anyway, so we started talking to the real estate agent, and she's like, oh, you're chiropractors. Oh, you're new in town. She's like, I'm part of this business networking group. You should come along to one of the breakfasts. Remember? Do you not remember that?
I don't remember.
You don't remember
that. I don't remember. I remember being part of the
you
networking group.
If you don't remember how we got there, that's how we got there. Because I remember we were just thinking, okay, let's plan for the future. Let's dream a bit. Let's go see these houses. And we were just like, Jesus Christ, I don't want to live in these houses and they're so expensive. But yeah, the real estate agent was like, oh, come to this business networking thing. We're like, yeah, sure. And so that's when we started joining BNI. So if anyone knows what BNI is, it's a business networking.
It's also a fantastic way to build a busince from the start.
Incredible. And
it's amazing. It is.
And so what you do is you go for breakfast, and then it is focused every day, it's once a week, and you get up for breakfast, and everyone goes around and goes, hi, my name is, and here's my 30-second pitch of what I'm looking for this week.
Yeah.
And then you do all these referrals and people refer. Anyway, we got a shit ton of business from that.
Yeah. We also sent a shit ton of business.
Sent a shit
but,
ton of business.
So that is the idea of it. It's meant to be reciprocal.
And stuff. Yeah.
But damn, that was good for getting our practice. That extra level of growth.
Yes, and that's where we got a huge injection of people as well. So as well as the walking the pavements, putting up all the things, as well as spending a shed ton of money on advertising, as well as pestering people to be in things. We started, and it was
actively networking.
It was about the relationships we built.
And actually, with those groups, we met some incredible people and had some really good friendships with these people.
Yeah, we did.
Tim Lambert, who won the Business of the Year for the Northern Territory, and has since moved to America.
Oh, is he living in America now? Oh, amazing.
He took a very small business, but he's a people person, he's a connector.
Yeah.
And meeting him in that group, and then Frank Shembry in real estate, and there was some amazing people doing really cool things.
Yeah, and like some old Darwin, like some old Darwin people who've been
really
there
well
forever
connected.
and really connected. And like, yeah, people who own big businesses who'd be like, oh, your back hurts? All right, go see my guy,
Yeah.
And because we're in the city and the way, and that new premises we had was, pardon me, very close to lots of hotels, and we were below some service departments. So a lot of the fly-in, fly-outs would see us, and come to, we were pretty. Looking back, we were pretty damn smart in what we did, and it was just because
Yeah.
we could see it. Like again, letting that intuition lead us, and being able to see where the opportunities were. I feel like I've lost that a little bit, I have to say.
I think it's the young fearlessness, nothing to lose kind of deal. Like, it still doesn't feel like we've got much to lose, but we've got kids.
We've got kids,
So
now.
we do have, we don't have to, but we tend to hold ourselves back
My God,
a bit.
I'm looking at the time now. It's almost an hour, and we've only just barely scratched the surface of what Darwin was like. Do you think we should just keep going or do another one?
To be continued. Every big decision we've ever made, from leaving toxic jobs to moving across the world, came with an element of fear. But our latest big decision, moving our entire family to the other side of the world, that was the easiest one yet. It's because we worked through our fears before it was time to decide. Now, if you want to move into your future with confidence, free from the fears that hold us all back, we can help. Leandra and I. Work with us one-on-one using the method and face and transform your deepest fears. Reach out through the link in the show notes and we can get started.